Hey there, Sean Terry here, flip2freedom.com, and I want to talk to you about 3 specific things that will massively improve your conversions. Now, I can tell you, conversion, literally meeting with a seller and getting a property under contract, is one of the biggest topics that we are hearing in our mastermind groups, talking to people all across the country, and they are wondering, how do I get more deals? How do I get deals at a lower price so I can create bigger spreads? And how can I get deals at a lower cost so it doesn't cost so much? So the bottom line is this, is that people are going out there right now, and other wholesalers are going out there, and they're meeting with sellers, and the sellers have options. They have multiple different postcards. They're getting bombarded with realtors, and other wholesalers. Our newer wholesalers are coming in and offering any number. So now the seller's going, I have another offer at a higher price, or I can list it for this much. As inventory decreases through the marketplace right now, we find an environment where we have all these sellers that have a ton of different options. And now we have to literally separate ourselves from everybody else. And there's 3 ways that we're going to talk about exactly how you can do that. And you can literally polarize the seller to only sign a contract with you versus everybody else. And not only will they sign a contract with you, but they're going to sign it at a lower price. Now, I've been in and talking to sellers, and they have multiple different offers from other people, and we get contracts at a lower price than they do. Why? Because of what we're going to talk about in this video. So take notes. I'm telling you, it's going to make an absolute difference, and it will make you money, I promise. So here's the first one. First one is we have to literally ambush our seller, right? We have to completely surround our seller with marketing. And this is called pre-framing the seller, pre-framing them. It's what you do before you go to the appointment. So my question to you is this: what specifically are you doing to pre-frame your seller before you actually show up at the appointment? Now, if you're going, well, I just send a letter and they call and I meet with them, right? Well, guess what? You're missing some serious steps that's going to allow us to be able to get a contract versus you, because we pre-frame. Now, how does this pre-framing work? First off, it becomes identifying who is your ultimate client, or who is the ultimate seller that you want to put all your laser focus in when it comes to marketing, right? So what we do is we create what's called the perfect property avatar list. And we do that by looking at all the properties where we got the biggest spreads. Now, I'll give you an example here in Phoenix. We target properties 1975 and below. We do that. Why? Because we found that older properties, you can create bigger repair lists and you can get deeper spreads, right? Properties need repair, they have deferred maintenance. That's number 1. Number 2 is we have properties that have at least 10-year ownership or more by the seller, so they have significant equity built up in the property, right? That's number 2. Number 3 is we target specific zip codes, so that we know where they're super hotbeds and buyers are looking for those specific areas. Now, we do that and we take 2 million households in Phoenix and narrow it down to, say, 30, 40, 50,000 names. So we have 30, 40, 50,000 names in there, and we can become hyper-focused, all of our marketing only on those people, right? Only on those people. Now, how do we do that? How do we ambush the seller? Well, the first thing is we have a marketing campaign that's consistent, that we surround them. So first thing we'll do is we'll take that list and we'll skip trace that list, and we're going to get their email addresses, we're going to get their cell phone numbers, we're going to get their landline numbers, we're going to get their addresses that they have. Now we have a fully skip trace list. Now we can upload it to Facebook. Once we upload it to Facebook, what happens is now we can create an audience and we can target them with our marketing, right? So we can target them with their marketing. So now the seller is seeing us on Facebook. They're scrolling on Facebook, they're kind of checking all their friends, all of a sudden, boom, an ad pops up. That's number 1. Number 2 is now we can take all their email addresses, their name and information. We can then create an audience inside of Google. And now when they open up their Gmail account, guess what? They can see an ad from us. They start searching online. They can turn around on different websites. They can see ads from us that are similar to the ads on Facebook. So now they see us on Google, now they see us on Facebook, now they see us in their email box. Then they're going to get a postcard from us or a letter from us. So now we're going to be in their mailbox, right? Then they're going to get a phone call from us because we're going to drop what's called RVM, ringless voicemail, to them through the RVM lead machine. And then next, we're going to cold call them. From a physically live person who's going to cold call them. So we're surrounded. We got cold call. We're hitting on their cell phone with RVM. They're getting a postcard from us. And guess what? If anybody out of those 50,000 people or so, 40,000 people, if they are selling, they're going to sell to us. They're going to pick up the phone and they're going to sell to us. And the question is, how many times do you hit them? Over and over and over and over and over again, right? Because you never know when someone's ready to sell. And guess what? If you hit them multiple different times from different angles, it's creating what's called a trust or an identification, and it's pre-framing that seller. So now let's take it to the appointment, right? So you pre-frame the seller. Now you show up at the appointment, right? And we use a brand, 1-800-FAIR-OFFER. So we show up with our shirt, 1-800-FAIR-OFFER. All of our marketing is completely branded marketing all the way around. So it's ingraining 1-800-FAIR-OFFER in their head. Now we show up with 1-800-FAIR-OFFER at the doorstep. And now we're meeting the seller. They've already seen us before. So there's a level of trust, a level of respect that's already built, and a level of authority that's already built with that seller. Unlike your competition, who just sends a postcard, they pick up the phone and call. Now we have an authority, now we're meeting with the seller. Now what we're gonna do with the seller is what's called the 9-step seller conversion sequence. And that 9-step seller conversion sequence is incredibly important. We're going to, obviously do pre-appointment intelligence. We want to understand what's going on in the neighborhood. We want to get our file ready where their 3 lowest comps are, letter of authorization. We want to meet the seller and identify their personality type. Are they an analytical? Are they a social conscious? Are they more of a social person, or are they what we call a red personality type, where they're aggressive and they don't have time for stuff and they're really direct and to the point? And once you identify that personality type, and you can do it through a handshake, you can do it with asking some specific questions, and once you identify that handshake, now you're negotiating with the person based upon who they are. And guess what? None of your competition's doing that. See, for an example, if you have someone that's considered green or analytical type person, and if you have someone that's analytical and you just try to blow through them and you blow through the contract and you show up 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 minutes late, and you don't really attention to details, and you just kind of walk through the property and just give them a number, you will not get the contract. We're going to get the contract because we're going to identify them, and we're going to go slow. We're going to talk about every word in the contract. We're going to make sure we cover every single ounce of detail. Now, if you misidentify a seller and you think they're green but they're actually red and you're really detail oriented, they're going to blow you out of the water because they don't have time for this. Right? So knowing the personality type is incredibly important when it comes to negotiating with a seller. And after you do that, guess what? We have a certain iPad presentation we go through. We give our offer number, and we understand how that exactly works, right? And then if they're going to have, once you give an offer, they're going to have what's called an objection. There's 16 objections that literally kill most wholesalers when it comes to deals. Well, those 16 objections, we know how to overcome each one of them specifically, and we do that by boxing the objection, right? So we take a generalized, I want to think about it, and we box it into a specific, right? And we do that by boxing them, putting that into a specific objection, and now we get them to identify that specific objection. Now, after we do that, we might have a gap. Right? So now you identify it, and they say price, for an example, is we box it into price, and now they're at 130 and you're at 120, right? Well, guess what? Now you got a $10,000 gap. Now your goal is to close that gap, and there's specific ways you can close that gap without splitting the difference, right? So now, and then what's called a wrap up and setting the expectation. So I briefly went over the 9 steps. There's obviously massive amount of detail in each one of the steps, and we teach our sales guys to go out there and do that. Obviously I teach this entire thing. But the bottom line is, do you think that will help conversions? Do you think pre-framing the seller will help with conversions? Yes. Now, the third step in the process, we got pre-framing, we got the 9-step seller conversion sequence, and the third and final step is follow up, right? So let's say theoretically they don't sign the contract. Now, there's two personality types that will not sign a contract, or they're very difficult to get a contract to sign right on the first appointment, right on the spot. There are two other personality types, red and blue, that will sign a contract right on the spot every single time. And guess what? If they're motivated and they want to sell, you should be able to get that contract done no matter what. Now, the bottom line is through the follow-up sequence, that's incredibly important because of the seller decision timeline. The seller decision timeline says that a seller starts the process of saying, and they have an idea that, hey, I want to sell my property. Then they're going to go through some research. They're going to check on Zillow. They're going to talk to a realtor friend. They're going to put on Facebook, hey, I want to sell my house. They're going to get people talk. They're going to gather information about the process of selling their house. Then they're going to meet with a realtor. Then they're going to meet with you. Wherever they are in that seller decision process is incredibly important in understanding where they are in that process. So think about it. If you meet them at their initial stages of the seller decision timeline and you meet with them and you make an offer that makes sense and you go through the 9-step seller conversion sequence and you show the comps and you show a repair sheet and they go, I want to think about, I got to talk to a realtor friend, I got to talk to my whatever, and they're at the beginning of the timeline and then you never follow up with them, which is the third critical step. You never follow up with them. They go, oh, they said no, right? Oh, they want retail. That's what you say, because they're at the beginning of the timeline, and then what we do is we will follow up with them consistently every single week, and we'll be following up, how's it going, talk to them, build a relationship, talking to them, they'll get voicemails, they'll get letters from us. There's a specific sequence that we're going to go through this seller decision timeline. So it might be a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, a month from now, a month and a half from now, 2 months from now, where they're ready now, 2.5, 3 months down the road, to pull the trigger. And guess what? Now they have communication with you over a 3-month period, and they've had no communication from any other investor, your competition, right? Who do you think they're going to pick? Now, you pre-frame them, you talk their language, right? You give them an offer, you overcome objections, do whatever you can. You work with them through the 9-step seller conversion, and then you follow up them during that seller decision timeline. Do you think you will get more contracts? Right? Intuitively, you're saying to yourself, absolutely, are you kidding me? I've never heard this before. This would change everything. Right? Well, obviously there's specific things you do in each step, but I wanted to plant the seed that there is a better way, and it's education. I can tell you education is incredibly important. I've been doing this for 15 years. How do you think I know all this stuff, right? I know it because I'm solving problems. When I ask myself, how do I get more conversions? When I ask myself, how do we get lowered cost per deal? When I ask myself, how do I get deeper spreads? Well, guess what? It's all related to what is happening before the seller, during the seller, and after that seller appointment. It's incredibly important, and those three elements will literally change how your conversion rate goes up, the type of revenue that comes in, the type of profitability you have, and literally, think about it. What if you get, 5 more deals a year, 10 more deals a year? And your average profit's $10,000, well, 10 more deals, that's $100,000 in additional revenue by learning just a couple things, right? Just a couple things that makes a massive difference. So I hope this helped. We talk more about that. We talk about this in our mastermind groups and Boardroom Mastermind. We talk about this in our Flip to Freedom Academy programs, our 100K wholesaler programs. We get really in depth of the specifics of how to do what we talk about. So again, thank you so much for watching. There's a lot more in this. You don't want to make it too difficult and get kind of overwhelming, but I can tell you it's incredibly important to do this. And you have to know that, guess what? If you master your craft, the world, I mean, you can do whatever you want, when you want. It's amazing. It opens up so many different amazing avenues. It's so exciting, and I want that for you. And don't get discouraged if you go meet with a seller and they want a higher price. Don't get discouraged, get better. Right? I was at our church and our pastor was talking about you have a choice, right? When things go wrong or things suck, you can get bitter or you can get better, right? Choose to get better. If you get better, then you can get better in the processes. I've always asked myself, instead of getting mad and discouraged and frustrated and pissed off, right? I'm like going, how can I get better? And that's how stuff has developed, all these different processes that we talk about and teach. And it's literally changing lives all across the country, and I know it will for you too. So thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Go to flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com, get on our email list. We share some incredible stuff. I wrote a book that goes through and it talks about all the different steps of getting started. Definitely download that. You can do that for free. We got other books coming up online. We got a lot more different announcements and products and other cool content with our podcasts and stories. So we have a lot of places you can gather some incredible content that can really make a difference in your life. So thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and God bless.